Glad you can join us this week. Welcome to Studio 5. We've got a great lineup in today's show. Here's the rundown.
How bad is it?
He has burns to 100% of his body.
The inspiring journey of a man with burns to 100% of his body.
It's a story about coming alive. It's a story about making a difference with the one life you have.
And it's Cirque du Soleil meeting the Passion of the Christ. Plus, Israel Houghton's music story and love story.
Those three big stories are coming up, and we have 5 uplifting entertainment headlines to share. Let's fire up the countdown as we take a look at number 5 and number 4.
At number 5. Reconstruction.
We going brick for brick, yeah. We going brick for brick, okay. We going brick for brick.
It's Lecrae's 10th studio album and his current world tour.
Why'd you start in Zimbabwe?
It's a great question. I really wanted to, I think people say world tour, and usually what it means is like Europe and America, right? Yeah. And I was like, no, like there's some underserved places that don't get tours, and it's not generally lucrative. It's not like you're really, in order to go there, you're going because you just want to serve. And I know I have such great followers and fans there. And so I wanted to go out there and just show them some love.
We forever until they come get us. I'm building faith up from summer to winter. You pick the season, it really don't matter, cause all of them mine. I know I'm a winner.
At number 4, we head to Music City and the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum for a look at its newest class.
Kenny Chesney is among the new inductees into the Country Music Hall of Fame, also receiving country music's highest honor during a star-studded ceremony at the CMA Theater in Nashville, Tennessee, June Carter Cash and Tony Brown.
And we are continuing our countdown throughout the rest of the show. We'll pick things back up at number 3 in just a little bit. Well, now it is a story made for the silver screen. An accident leaves a 9-year-old with burns to 100% of his body. And that is where the inspirational real-life story begins for John O'Leary. He is with us this week, along with the actor who portrays him, Joe Courtney.
Come on, John, stay with me. Wake up! Coming through, coming through.
How bad is it?
He has burns to 100% of his body.
So, John, I know you share your story in a book. When did you know that that story was a movie?
Man, I'm still figuring that out, to be honest, Ephraim.
I want to send out a special hello tonight to a certain young man who's laid up in the hospital. His name is John O'Leary. He's a tough little guy.
And it's a story about coming alive. It's a story about making a difference with the one life you have, and I'm delighted and humbled and honored it is now a film.
Boy, you listen to me. You will walk again.
So, Joel, what's it like to bring this story to screen, a living, breathing person that you can actually feel and touch?
Playing a real character, someone who's, based off of a true story, there's something really powerful about it, and I think it demands just more care and attention and honor done to John, to Beth, his wife, to his parents, to his family, his community in St. Louis, all the people that this is their story as well, in that, they're your heroes. And this is a story that John always says that he's not the hero of this story. It's those who, spoke love and encouragement into his life during these times.
When I first came to see you, they said you had no chance. But here you are.
Joe, how did telling this story change or impact your life?
What impacted me the most is John's lessons that he learned from his life.
You're gonna face challenges when you get out of here, but you can still do almost anything.
I think that my perspective on hardships in my life have really been torn down and opened up in a way.
John, take me back to that time period that we're witnessing on screen. What do you remember most about going through that phase of your life's journey?
How ironic it is that a kid who never wanted to be identified with his wounds now celebrates them with audiences around the world. Like, to me, that's just so remarkable how God's grace has shown up, not just in keeping me alive when I was first burned, but ultimately breathing life back into me decades afterwards.
Why would a man who can't hold a hammer choose to be a contractor?
I guess I like to just see houses for what they can be, not what they are.
I know what it feels like to think you've probably thrown your life away.
The movie was shot where it happened. So the day of the fire was captured in the house where I was burned the day of the fire. So to watch them do the work in my mom and dad's house and to see these actors bring this to life, that's an amazing experience. Hard to watch, but also healing.
To move through the adversities of life, we must have a reason to thrive that is bigger than all the challenges that we face.
If you focus exactly on loving the life that you're living right now, it's not the life that you think you could have had or should have had. That's the whole deal right there.
To be behind the camera, watching the scene come alive, and to go back in time recognizing that that same kid, me, wondered if my life would end up as a train wreck, because I didn't see beauty in the scars. And yet, the story's been redeemed. And I'm grateful that it's now on screen, not so others can recognize how incredible my life is, but they may one day recognize how incredible their life is.
You built a good life out of ashes. Remarkable.
The most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire.
Soul on Fire. It is in theaters right now. Still ahead, drama, music, dance, martial arts, and acrobatics unite to deliver the story of Jesus like you've never seen it before.
People of all ethnicities, all backgrounds, seekers, where culture says the best stories are told, we're bringing the greatest story of all.
At number 3.
It's supposed to be 3 days later, but he got 20 years older. And I think I have to use a few techniques that they've started to get really good.
Mel Gibson has begun filming his long-awaited sequel to The Passion of the Christ, but there is a change in original plans. Jim Caviezel isn't playing Jesus again. Actor Jaka Otonin is taking over the role in The Resurrection of the Christ. At number 2.
My name's Sarah Rector, and I have 160 acres off the Cimarron Bend, and there's Olan.
A behind-the-scenes look at a real life coming to screen November 7th in Sarah's Oil.
Once I found out that the filmmakers were dedicated to telling as accurate as possible story of the trials and tribulations of this young girl and what she went through after oil was discovered over her land, and it makes me feel so good. And I am really, really, really happy for my family because this is something they've been fighting for and pushing for.
The state gave me that property on account of my ancestors. I knew in my soul there was oil on it. It's funny. When the land had only weeds and lizards, it was all mine. But when people found out there was oil on it, they started thinking it's theirs.
A larger-than-life theatrical event is making the rounds with a nationwide tour. The Thorn combines drama, music, dance, martial arts, and acrobatics as it shares the story of Jesus from creation to the early church. Its creator, John Bolden, peels back the curtain for us. Let's talk about the Thorn in terms of the size and scope of it all. So this is a traveling tour right now. How big is this production?
Yeah, so the tour is 52 cast and crew, and the cast comes from all over the world. So it's a big production, but we love doing it.
How would you describe this production? It's the passion story. What's unfolding on stage?
Yeah, that's great. So it's the story of the gospel told from the book of Genesis to the book of Acts. And it's told through the perspective or the lens of a narrator, which is told by an 80 or a 95-year-old, he's not actually 95, but the character, 95-year-old John the Beloved on the island of Patmos. And then he takes them on this journey for the next 2.5 hours that begins with creation and it ends with, you know, the Great Commission. It's been described as like a cirque experience meets the Passion. But it's very immersive, very fast paced. We get a lot of comments from people that say, I don't love live theater and I love the Thorn.
Where was this born? What happened?
So it actually started almost 30 years ago. I was working as a volunteer youth pastor in Colorado Springs.
Mm-hmm.
This 16-year-old girl came and sat next to me. And she held out her arms, and I could see where she'd been cutting up and down her arms, and she was sobbing. So I turned to her and I said, you don't have to do that, because I believe Jesus did that for us 2,000 years ago. So I thought, you know what, next Wednesday night I want to do an illustrated sermon, a drama that would show two things: the price that Jesus paid, so that young people would know no matter what you're going through, no matter how dark the season, no matter what it is you're struggling with, Jesus understands because he's been here. And then number two, I wanted to show the reality of what I call the spiritual battle for the destiny, identity, and calling of young people. And then it grew over the next 25 years to what it is today.
Wow. How many iterations have we had? Did we do movie? How does this evolve?
So it began in the local church, and then we began to get calls from other churches around the country saying, would you bring this to our church? So then we went through about 10 years we became an independent production company. And then we partnered with mega churches around the country to do the production in different mega churches. And then my wife and I had an idea: what if we could film the Thorn and put it in movie theaters? So we partnered with Fathom Productions and Fathom Events out of Denver, and we recorded the Thorn in 2022. And then we thought, well, if we're going to be in 800 movie theaters, then maybe we should do a live tour, one final swan song. And we booked these Class A 2,500 seat performing arts centers, not knowing what was going to happen. And it was an Ephesians 3 moment, more than we could have asked, thought, dreamed, or imagined. Almost every city, every show was totally sold out. People of all ethnicities, all backgrounds, seekers. Where culture says the best stories are told, we're bringing the greatest story of all.
Wow. Why do you think it works?
Well, number one, I think it's good. The main reason it works, though, is because God wants it to. And if we will allow our gifts to be used by God, and if we can get out of the way, then I think the Holy Spirit does something even way beyond us.
To see when and where you might catch the Thorn live, check out thethorn.com. There you'll find tour dates, locations, and tickets. We've now reached a special spot in this week's show. It is time for this week's Studio 5 Snapshot.
These images take us behind the scenes of the boss, Bruce Springsteen's life coming to the big screen in Deliver Me From Nowhere. The Bears' Jeremy Allen White portrays the living legend, and the story chronicles Springsteen's decision to shelve what would become a massive hit, Born in the USA, in favor of a different sound. That sound is his 1982 album, Nebraska. The movie hits theaters this week, October 23rd.
And that is this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. This year's Dove Award stage was on fire, and veteran recording artist Israel Houghton helped to light the flame.
I've done this music in Spanish, and it's taken over my life. I love it. I almost don't want to do anything else.
Welcome back, Studio 5. Let's take a moment to share in this week's look at the #1 story in the world of uplifting entertainment.
At number 1.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day. Something new from the Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, and producer, who already has an impressive music catalog. So here's a question. What's your favorite Donald Lawrence tune? Is it this? Or maybe it's this. How about this? And you'll now have even more songs to choose from.
Let's kind of take it from top of the show. Let's run through a little bit of the blend on Good Day to Be Happy. Is that cool?
Okay. With Lawrence lending his music talent to this off-Broadway production titled Oh Happy Day.
Good day to be happy. Rejoice and be glad in it.
You signed on to do this, and there was no music to the original.
No. There wasn't any music. So I just kind of lived with the script, and instead of writing an end song, I said, I have 3 pieces for you that I want you to think about. And I told him, I said, after reading this, my approach for this happy day that you talk about is happiness being a choice and a destination.
Rejoice and be glad in it.
Recording artist Israel Houghton and his team New Breed took home 2 Dove Awards this year. We caught up with him on the red carpet alongside his wife, Adrienne Bailon, who is also a singer. They shared their music story and their love story.
And the winner is...
Coritos de Fuego!
Gloria a Dios.
How does it feel to be here celebrating this music?
I mean, it's an honor to be here. I think anytime you get called on to, attend and perform and all of that, it just is a real honor to be here. And we're doing it for the culture, man.
There's something about the power of this music that touches us deeply, historically, generationally. So we're honored to be a part of this great tapestry of gospel music. Thank you guys so much.
We've done this music in Spanish, and it's taken over my life. I love it. I almost don't want to do anything else. And the fact that we get to see that culture highlighted tonight on the stage is really awesome.
It's just not music for me at this point, you know what I mean? It's given me purpose, and it's just been such an awesome project to work as a family.
Yes.
My sister is singing with us tonight. It's been family. My dad sings on the new record, Coritos Volume 2. And so it's just been really, really special. And these are the songs that I grew up singing that my grandmother taught me. And it's crazy because when Israel and I got married, we were like, oh my gosh, he grew up with these exact same songs. He knew all the words to them. So I think that there's something really special there that my generation was impacted by, my grandmother's, and now my son is also singing these same songs.
When was the first time you heard an Israel Houghton song?
So funny enough, the first time I knew that I was listening to an Israel Houghton song was during when we were doing the promo for I'm in Love with a Church Girl. Israel was one of the executive producers on the film and did the soundtrack, and at the same time was touring Jesus at the Center, the album. So the first song I ever knew that it was Israel Houghton was Jesus at the Center. Then I get married to him, and he's doing a tour with Fred Hammond called Festival of Praise, and he sings To Worship You I Live and You Are Good. And I remember going, man, the song that you did tonight, I grew up singing that song. Who sings that? I'm like the one that goes, people from every nation and tongue, we were like,
she just
which
assumed
one is
that was her church's song.
When you started with the music you were doing, were you aware that you were pioneering a sound?
I wasn't aware of it, but I kind of early on said to our team, we should always err on the side of extreme confidence that God is using us to make history, than to err on the side of ignorance and negligence and be like Jacob, who's like, the Lord was here and I didn't even know it. So I always said we should go into everything with the sense of like, this will be the biggest song ever, this will be the biggest record ever, this will be the biggest tour ever. Not for any other reason than I'd rather be confident and in the moment that God is going to do something great than to miss it.
Yeah, New Breed always says the atmosphere of expectation is the breeding ground of miracles.
As you saw, Israel and Adrienne performed at this year's Dove Awards and took home the award for Spanish Language Recorded Song of the Year. Welcome back to Studio 5. Music keeps this show moving every week, and this week's soundtrack comes from one of my absolute favorites, P.J. Morton. He is joined by Darryl Walls, and together, the sound is incredible. Take a listen, and you'll hear why their take on Abel is what's playing in my ear this week.
To waver, you are all I need. Every time that my mind starts to doubt, a thought comes to mind to remind me of how you've done miracles time and time again. So why would this time be any different? You're able, Lord. I believe you're able. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord.
You are still able. I know I needed to hear that one on repeat these days. On that musical note, we are just about out of time for this week's edition of Studio 5. So let's take a pause for the cause and sample a fun story we're working hard to bring you next week.
Took about 10 minutes, I guess.
Bart, you didn't write this song in 10 minutes. It took a lifetime. How'd you do this?
You know, I've never told anybody my story.
The I Can Only Imagine story was the #1 faith-based film of 2018, and the story continues.
I Can Only Imagine 2 is a story around one of our other popular songs, a song called Even If, to where now I'm the father and my son, we switched roles.
See the faces behind the new film and get a sneak peek at some of the first scenes.
I'm the dad learning how to have a relationship with my son and do it right, and I can't believe I'm saying it's a beautiful story. Like, I love the script. It turned out so great.
Please join us for that and much more next week. We've got time right now for just one more thing. We want to give the final word to the guests who helped to jumpstart this week's show. The real-life John O'Leary has a final word from his Soul on Fire story. So, now that the story is here and is being shared, John, what's your prayer for it?
You know, some people ask me about, like, what do you think about box office and numbers and awards? And someone has to care about that. I don't. I'm after one. I'm after one life, and we already have one. I got a message last week from a Marine who came back from Vietnam and felt nothing for decades. And he said, John, I wept the entire film, and I walked out of there alive. We're getting notes from folks who've spent time in prison. We're getting notes from kids who have been diagnosed with bipolar. We're getting notes from folks who've been diagnosed with cancer who are now willing to fight forward and recognize that God can redeem the situation. So my goal is not a big top line number or box office target. It's, can we impact one life for good? And Joel and the team that have done this already have.
John, thank you. That is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and for this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching.